Maintaining a YouTube channel is a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. Something really had to give. I think that this is an excellent lens. Well, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emmett and today is a little different, a little bit of kind of a story time about the behind the scenes of the channel, because I wanted to tell you about some changes that I've made recently to the way that I film and edit my videos. Creating a YouTube video takes a lot of time, especially if you really want to make it look good. And I don't really like to put something out if I don't think that it looks good. So just quickly to give you a bit of an idea, here's my YouTube workflow. First is the planning and scripting phase. It's kind of hard to quantify this phase because it really sort of happens here and there throughout other parts of life. It's maybe an hour or two where I have an idea, I research it, I write it down, and I write down what I want to say about it. Once that's done, it's time for the filming, and this could take place really quite a while after the planning and the scripting of a given video, because I like to write out my thoughts as I have them, and my thoughts don't really adhere to my one video every Friday release schedule. They're much more spontaneous. Filming a single video takes around an hour and a half or 2 hours. Most of that time is spent cleaning off the set here, since it's my regular workspace, setting up the lights, the camera, the mic, and reviewing what it was that I actually wanted to say before I actually hit record. After that comes the editing and the filming of the B-roll. The amount of editing depends on how smoothly the video itself actually went, and how long the editing takes depends a lot on whether my editing software actually runs smoothly or freezes up for a while it's processing things. All in all, though, that might take around 4 or 5 hours. I've not actually timed that, though, because I really don't do that all at once either. Then after that comes the publication finally. So making a thumbnail, a description, editing the automatic subtitles, all of that takes me maybe another hour. In total, this all takes me probably about 10 hours per video, or at least it did. And here's the thing, I don't have tons of time for this channel because it's not my full-time job. I have a full-time job that takes 40 hours of my week, and in the remaining time I have family and friends and other things that I want to do, just like anyone else. So at the end of last year, to be honest, I was really kind of questioning whether the channel could actually continue, whether I could keep making videos at the current pace, just because of how long it took to make a video and how hard it was to keep up with putting out a video every week. As much as I love creating these videos and making them look as good as I can and then sharing them, it can also be extremely time consuming and frustrating, and it was just consuming all of my free time, keeping me up late and becoming a last minute rush to publish the video that really didn't give me the time that I needed to feel good about what I had made. And at that point, I realized that really something had to give. I wanted to keep the channel and keep making all of the videos that I was making, but the videos just had to be faster and easier to produce. And so it was at that point that I decided to spend some money on 2 items that would really eliminate my frustration and speed me up. A fair amount of money, actually. These 2 things were a teleprompter and Final Cut Pro. The teleprompter that I selected is the GlideGear TMP100, which is a collapsible unit that you can place your tablet on with a teleprompter app to scroll your script. It cost me about $200, and I use my iPad with the $17 Teleprompter Premium app to display the text. The purpose of a teleprompter, of course, is to hide the fact that you're reading while you film by placing the text directly in front of your lens. Some people are just really good at remembering or maybe just improvising what they want to say on camera, but I'm just not really. That's not my sort of nature and personality. In the videos that I film indoors, I typically have something very specific that I want to say, and when I try to do so without some sort of notes or scripts, I tend to forget the things that I wanted to say, get details wrong, or forget that I've said something already and say it again. Now, I've been putting my notes in front of me on my iPad or my phone for a while to help with that, but you can see in the video when I'm looking down at them, and so then I have to try to go back later and cut that out, and it just doesn't really flow that smoothly. And all of that results in a lot more editing time to reduce all of the rambling and the note checking and the misspeaking, cutting all of that out of the A-roll, and that's not particularly fun or creative, and it takes away from the time that I have for the more creative things in the video. With the teleprompter though, I don't have to do that because I know what I want to say. The teleprompter also reduces the filming time because before I had to spend a lot of the time prior to filming reviewing everything that I had written down that I wanted to talk about. I write my videos as I think of them. In fact, I really like writing things. I've liked writing for a long time. And so while I'm working on something else and I think of something for a video that I think might be worth sharing, I'll jot it down. And then when I have time, I'll start to write out what I might want to say about it. And, I think about what the video might look like to get an idea of whether it's actually good enough for me to film it. When I'm done, I have at least a path, if not a full script, that I think will make a good video. And so I want to film that as it's written. And so what I used to have to do was try to read and remember all of that before the camera came on, which is a lot of pressure. And sometimes I'm just not up to that after a day of work, and it adds a lot of time to the filming. That in turn means that I can only film one video at a time, which increases the setup and cleanup time as I have to set everything up and tear it down just for the one video. With the teleprompter though, I barely need to review anything at all, meaning that I can film several videos at once even when I'm a bit tired. Between that and the editing time that the teleprompter saves me, it's really saved me a lot of time. In fact, this evening, I've actually filmed 2 videos already. I just filmed 2 videos. This is my 3rd video, and the teleprompter has just enabled me to film those back to back. Then there's Final Cut Pro. Previously, I was editing all of my movies in iMovie because it's free. It's not a bad app to use when you're starting out because once you've learned it, you can actually make fairly good videos that way. But it's just really not very efficient from its actual software standpoint, which causes it to freeze a lot. And finally, that got pretty annoying. I also gave DaVinci Resolve a try, and I just wasn't feeling that either. But when I got the Final Cut Pro trial, I was extremely happy with it. Now, I'm actually still in the trial period for Final Cut at the moment, but I fully expect that I will pay the $300 for it when the trial ends because of how much better it works for me than iMovie. The main thing that's better about Final Cut is actually just the way that it renders in the background. Rendering is basically when the computer processes all of the changes that you've told it to make into the actual video. And that requires a lot of computing power. In iMovie, the rendering happens immediately when you touch just about anything. iMovie doesn't really seem to use threading properly either. So for any computer nerds out there, it runs on one of my i7 6 cores, which just makes it a lot slower. And while that's happening, it's pretty hard to do anything else in iMovie. The whole UI glitches and just doesn't really work right. And so if I'm, say, color grading some footage, I select a clip, I drag the saturation up a bit, and now I have to wait several seconds before I can change another thing, even to the same saturation slider, and you tend to change those sliders a lot while you're editing. That's really annoying. It was slowing me down and it was driving me crazy. I thought that maybe I needed to buy a new computer, even though the Mac that I have is pretty solid. And then I got Final Cut, and Final Cut just waits until you're done and then it renders. So you adjust the color and it shows it to you on the current frame. If you stop making adjustments, it starts rendering on all 6 cores. But if you start adjusting again, it just pauses and lets you work. The software gets out of the way and it lets you create. Now, at $300, that's a lot cheaper than a new Mac, and it hasn't frozen a single time yet. Plus, I get to use lots of other new features with it to do really more and better creative things in the videos. Using Final Cut has saved me a lot of time, and it's also made the time that I've spent on it more enjoyable. As my editing standards kind of got higher throughout the year now that I've had this channel, well, almost a year now, I started to really kind of actually hate editing because I wasn't able to achieve what I really wanted, but now it's actually fun again because I just have the time for it and I can be more creative in the edit. Instead of sitting around and waiting on the software, I can now very quickly and smoothly make a bunch of edits to my video, which has saved me a ton of time. So that's the story of how 2 purchases really kind of saved the channel as we know it. I seriously was considering just making 1 video a month of me doing landscape photography and eliminating all of these indoor videos, even though I really didn't want to do that just because the other videos were so time consuming and stressful to make. But I decided to make these changes to speed things up and to reduce the stress, and I'm really glad that I did that. So that is all for this video. I just kind of wanted to share some thoughts with you and tell you this story. But if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button on your way out and to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more things that I'm really excited to share with you guys in the future. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.